ओमज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादां सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मैत्रेय उवाच जनेषु प्रगृह्णतास्व एवं पृथुलविक्रमं तत्रोपजग्मुर्मुन्यश्चात्वरसूरवर्चस। जनेषु प्रगृह्णतात् एवं पृथुलविक्रमं तत्रोपजग्मुर्मुन्यश्चत्वरसूरवर्चस। जनेषु प्रकृतास्व एवं पृथुलविक्रमं तत्रोपजग्मुर्मुनयश्चत्वरसूरवर्चस। जनेषु प्रकृतास्व एवं पृथुलविक्रमं तत्रोपजग्मुर्मुनयश्चत्वरसूरवर्चस। Maitreya Uvacha. The great sage Maitreya continued to speak. Janeshu, the citizens, Pragnastu, while praying for, Evam, thus, Prithum, unto Maharaj Pṛthu, Prithula, highly, Vikramam, powerful, Tatra, there, Upajagmuhu, arrived. Munaya, the Kumāras, Chatvara, 4. Surya, as the sun. Varchasha, bright. The translation: the great sage Maitreya continued while the citizens were thus praying to the most powerful King Pṛthu. The 4 Kumāras, who were as bright as the sun, arrived on the spot. Seeing the glowing effulgence of the 4 Kumāras, the masters of all mystic powers, the king and his associates could recognize them as they descend from the sky. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The 4 Kumaras are described herein as Siddheshwaran, which means master of all mystic power. One who has attained perfection in yoga, practice immediately, becomes master of the 8 mystic perfections. To become smaller than the smallest, to become lighter than the lightest, to become bigger than the biggest, to achieve anything one desires, to control everything, etc. These 4 Kumaras as Deshwars had achieved all the great yogic perfectional achievements, and as such they could travel in outer space without machines. While they were coming to Maharaj Pṛthu from other planets, they did not come by airplane, but personally. In other words, these 4 Kumaras were also spacemen who could travel in space without machines. The residents of the planet known as Siddhalok can travel in outer space from one planet to another without vehicles. However, the special power of the Kumaras mentioned herein that whatever place they went to would immediately become sinless. During the regime of Maharaj Pṛthu, everything on the surface of the globe was sinless, and therefore the Kumaras decided to see the king. Ordinarily, they do not go to any planet which is sinful. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवी सरस्वती व्यासं ततो जयं उदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम् ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today's class will start with a story. The story starts when in Satyug, once Lord Brahma, desiring to see the personal form of the Supreme Lord, does austerities, and with the intention that he wants to see the personal form of the Lord. And when he does this austerity, then he hears an Akashvani. He hears the celestial world speaking to him, and the celestial world says that you will see the Supreme Lord once you perform 1000 Ashwamedh Yagyas. And when Brahma hears this, he says that I can perform 1000 Ashwamedh Yagyas, but that would take very long. And I want to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead as soon as possible. I can't wait that long to do 1000 Ashwamedh Yagyas and then see the Lord. So then the Lord spoke to him that go to Kanchi. There's a place, Kanchi, in the southern part of India, where any religious, any spiritual, any pious act holds 10,000 times more the benefit. So you go to Kanchi and you do 1 Ashwamedh Yagya, and you'll get the credit of performing 1000 Ashwamedh Yagyas, and you'll see the personal form of the Supreme Lord. So he goes to Kanchi, and at that time Saraswati, who's Brahma's wife, was not accessible to be with him for the Yagya. So he continues the Yagya without her. And when he does the Yagya, the demons, in some scriptures it is said that Saraswati actually sent these obstacles, but the lecture which I heard by Srila Radhanath Maharaj, he says the demons were sent. Demons sent some hurdles to disrupt the fire sacrifice, the Yajna of Brahma. So the first hurdle they sent was great wave of ocean, an ocean which could drown anything which comes its way. So that when that great ocean came, Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu and Lord Narayan manifested as Vegasetu, the form of the Lord, which acts like a bandh or acts like a dam, bridge, Vegasetu, which controls all the water. And the Lord manifested in that deity form and protected Brahma's fire sacrifice. The next hurdle which was sent was um, the demons made the entire area completely dark. So the complete darkness. Now, how does one perform a sacrifice in complete darkness? So the Lord manifested his second form as Deep Prakash, and when Lord manifested Deep Prakash, they sent the third hurdle. The third hurdle was the demons themselves came and they started attacking Brahma at that time, and they sent a demon, Sharbha, to devour the sacrifice. At that time, the Lord manifested as Ashtabhuj, and he devoured Sharbha, and he killed all the demons. After that, the completion of the sacrifice resulted in the appearance of Lord Varadaraj, which is a very prominent deity around Kanchi area. And even Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited these areas, these places, these dhams during his South Indian Yatra. So this deity of Varadaraj is very special. And it is said that Varadaraj feels very hot, so they continuously fan him with fans because he emerged out of a sacrificial fire, right? So he's very hot. So they constantly fan Varadaraj Perumal. So this is the story of Varadaraj and Kanchi. And around this area there was a very great saint, very very pious family of Nath Muni, who once traveled. So this is the place, now the story begins, where this story is originating from. So this saint Nath Muni, along with his family, his son Ishwar Muni, his wife and his daughter-in-law, they traveled around places, specifically Vrindavan. When they went to Vrindavan, they went to other various pastime places, other ones, Khadirvan, Lohavan, Ghevarvan, Mahavan, Bhandirvan. They went to all these places. They took bath in the sacred waters of Yamuna. And when they came back, Ishwar Muni's wife was blessed by a son. A very beautiful, very noble, very pious son. And they named him after the glorious river Yamuna, and they named that son Yamunacharya. Yamuna, not Acharya at that time, but they named him Yamuna. Unfortunately, Ishvara died, and Nath Muni, he took sannyas. So this little Yamuna was raised by his grandmother and his mother. But they raised him very nicely. They did as much as they could. And then later on, they sent him to Gurukul, the Gurukul of Bhashyacharya. When he studied under the Gurukul, under the tutelage of Bhashyacharya. And it so happened that one day, there were some students who came to Bhashyacharya's ashram. And when they came to Bhashyacharya's ashram, they said, "Where is your Guru?" And Yamuna, little 5-year-old boy, said, he said, "My Guru is not in ashram at this point in time, how can I serve you?" So they say, "Your Guru hasn't paid taxes to Kolahal for more than a year now." And then this Yamuna, little Yamuna, he asked them, "What taxes?" So the students tell him that your stupid Guru, your foolish Guru, long time back was defeated by this great scholar this um, great royal scholar Kolahal, and um, he this he's such a prominent scholar that he literally has king wrapped around his finger. The great Pandya king does whatever Kolahal says, whatever Kolahal wants, and um, long time back, the king had um, had made a decree, which is he had made a law that all the scholars who have been defeated by Kolahal will have to give tax to the king, will have to give tax to Kolahal, or they'll be paying penalized. Um, so your guru hasn't given tax to Kolahal because he was defeated by him long time back, and we are here to collect that tax. So Yamuna, looking at these students, little boy, he said, actually, looking at you guys, looking at you, I can I can say that your guru is a fool number one because he has such arrogant, such um, ill-mannered, ill-clad disciples like you. And my guru, he does not want to spend time with people like you. That is why he did not take your guru so seriously. Otherwise, even I can defeat your guru. Forget about my guru. So when the students heard this from little Yamuna, they were enraged. They went back to the kingdom and they told Kolahal that um, this we went to Bhashacharya's ashram and this is what happened, and this child is challenging you for a debate. And when these students said this, the entire court, everyone started laughing, even Kolahal. And Kolahal said that this little boy who still has milk, mother's milk, stuck to his um, um, all around his cheeks, is challenging me. But then the king said that this is a Brahminical etiquette. Whoever challenges, you should fight. And then the king and everyone were laughing, and they said, "Okay, challenge accepted." So these disciples go back to Yamuna and say that Kolahal has accepted your challenge. Kolahal said, no, Yamuna said that this is a very important debate competition happening. So the king should send royal palanquin and um, servants with charmers and fans um, to get me to the kingdom. And when they went back, the king sent the royal palanquin to get um, little Yamuna, to the palace. And at that time, looking at little Yamuna, all the all the scholars who were defeated by Kulahal, they prayed that please, my lord, empower Yamuna that he can win this argument. And all the disciples, all the students of Yamuna, of Kolahal, they 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 were laughing because they knew that very soon this little Yamuna is going to get completely devoured by uh, the mighty Kolahal. At that time, the king and queen, they what they did was they did a wager. They made a wager. So the king said, just like a cat devours the rat, similarly the great mighty Kolahal will devour um, little Yamuna. And the queen said, just like a spark devours the sack of clothes, a pile of clothes, little Yamuna will devour your mighty Kolahal. And he heard this. Kolahal was standing right next to the queen, and he was listening to this. And he says, "Alavandara," means this little guy. And the queen, in sarcasm, said, "Alavandara," this little guy. And so the debate began, and then what happened was that Kolahal started asking questions, and little Yamuna started answering these questions one after the other, very eloquently, very scholastically. And the question and answer session happened. And then Yamuna finally said, "Why are you asking me such easy questions? Um, do you think because I'm a little boy, you are asking me these easy questions? If that's the reason, then your intelligence is as much as the intelligence of a water buffalo. Why are you asking me these easy questions?" And mighty Kolahal, who was with asking such scholastic, such profound questions according to him, have any other questions to ask? So he said, "Why don't you ask me questions, and I'll answer them?" And Yamuna, he said, "I'll ask you. I'll put three propositions in front of you, and you have to prove these three propositions wrong." And these three propositions were: one, your mother is a barren woman. Do you know what a proposition is, Prabhu? So he'll put three statements in front of Kolahal, and Kolahal has to prove these three situations to be wrong. Like I say, this is brown, and you have to prove this is white. So now, how you argue that is your scholarism. You can say that, yeah, because this tissue is white, and the main use of this box is the tissue. So we'll say that this is white. That is one way to present this argument. Because I can say that your complexion is you're fairer than me, but you are wearing black. So one can say the person wearing the black jacket is going, or someone can say the person who's fairer in complexion is going. Now, so you understand there are two ways to see a situation. What situation you put in front and how are you able to argue and refute the argument is up to the scholarism. So during these times, the main game, like how everyone is hooked up to cricket or baseball or football, the main sport during this time was debating. So all the kingsmen and all the residents of this area, this province, Pandya kings were at the Pandya king's palace to witness this. And so the first proposition he put was, your mother is a barren woman. And Kolahal was shocked, because my mother is a barren woman. How did I get birthed? So, and then Yamuna said, "Oh, you're not able to refute the first proposition. The second proposition, the king is not a virtuous king. You have to prove this wrong." And the king is sitting right next to him. So if he starts blaspheming the king will get angry at Kolahal. So he says, outrageous. How can this be possible? And then the third proposition, the queen is as chaste as Savitri. So you have to prove these three situations to be wrong. When these three propositions were put in front of Kolahal, he became mad. He was so mad. He said, "You are doing aparads. You are doing offenses. How can someone win? How can someone refute these three propositions?" No, you continue sitting. So how can someone refute these three arguments? So Yamuna said that either you refute these arguments or you lose the debate. And then Kolahal said, "No, you want me to get killed by the king. That is why you are doing this. This is outrageous. This is not fair." And then people who were defeated by Kolahal in the previous discussions, they said, "Okay, Yamuna is the winner." And then Kolahal's side, they said, "No, if Yamuna is so scholarly, then he has to refute these statements he made himself." And then the other party said, "No, this was never the part of the deal. Yamuna is the winner, he has won." And then Yamuna says, little Yamuna, he silences everyone and says, "I'll refute these statements. Shanti. So I'll refute these statements." So he says the first statement is, your mother is not a barren woman. Is a barren woman. So is not a barren woman, sorry. So according to the Manu Samhita or Manu Smriti, any woman who just has one child is as good as a barren woman. So, Kolahal, you are the only child, you are the single child of your mother. Hence, according to Manusmriti, your mother is a barren woman. So, first statement refuted. Second, the king is not a virtuous king. So, according to Manusmriti, the king takes 1/6 of the pious activities done by the kingdom, and he takes 1/6 of the sinful activities committed by the by the citizens of his kingdom. And because we are in Kali Yuga, no one's completely pious. So that way, the king, out of his mercy, out of his kindness, out of his supreme benevolence, he accepts 1/6, although he himself in his personal character is very pious, accepts 1/6 of the sinful activities um, committed by the citizens of the kingdom. And the third proposition, the queen is chaste like Savitri. According to Manusmriti, the king is a representative of the 7 chief demigods or devas, and because the queen because the queen is constantly serving the king, and the king is a representative of these 7 men, so the queen is not virtuous or not chaste as Savitri because she is simultaneously serving 7 other men. Did you understand? So by this argument, the queen is not a chaste woman. When Yamuna said this, the entire kingdom, the entire crowd were uproaring in cheer and in greetings. And at that time, the queen screamed, Alavandara, oh, this little guy, Kolahal, he defeated you. And at that time, actually, before this debate, the queen and the king, they had a wager. The queen said that if Yamuna is not able to defeat this boy, then I'll become the maid servant of your servant. So I'll become the maid servant of the servant who serves you. And the king said, "Oh, I'll if Yamuna is able to defeat Kolahal, then I'll give him half of my kingdom." And the king, according to the wager, when Yamuna won this debate, gave him half of his kingdom. Now the great Yamuna, when he had half of the kingdom, and the other neighboring kingdoms, they got to know that an inexperienced 12-year-old boy has been given this kingdom. They started attacking this kingdom. And when they attacked this kingdom, what happened was that that Yamuna, who was not just eloquent in scholarism, was not just a scholar, he was also a great warrior. He was able to win over these kings and expand his kingdom to a great length. And he became one of the most powerful kings of the southern part of India. But what happened was that he was so busy, and now he was so um, so much deeply engrossed in material sense gratification that there was no all his scholars, all his learnings from Shastra, from Bhagavad Gita, from Bhagavatam, they were somewhere in the back. They took the back seat because actually the story can end here, but Srimad Bhagavatam is Amal Puran, right? Dharma projita kaitabo triparamo nirmatsaranam satam Vedyam vastam matra vastu shivadam tapotrayan moolanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimva Parai Ishvare Satyo Rityavaruddhate Stu Kritipi Shushritya Bhistakshanat. So, Dharma Projita Kaitapotri Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam Vastam Matra Vastu Shivatam Tapotrayan Moolanam. So, if this Srimad Bhagavatam is Amal Puran, which kicks out Kaitab Dharma, material, how to get material attachments, how to materially advance oneself in wealth in other aspects, then how can the story end here? So, part 2 of the story is that the king, who is now so much Yamuna, was so much into welfare of the kingdom, having wars, having expanding the kingdom, that he forgot about his spiritual lifestyle. Now his grandfather, Nath Muni, who had taken sannyas, he was leaving his body, and in his deathbed, he called his most confidential disciple, whose name was Ram Mishra. He told Ram Mishra that my grandson is in a very pitiable condition. He is so engaged in ruling the kingdom that he has forgotten the Supreme Lord. So, you, my disciple, my only desire is get him back into Krishna consciousness. And then he left. He departed for the spiritual world. You see, similar situation. Last time we were discussing what kind of a son one should have, right? What type of a son should one desire? There is a similar situation in our Gaudiya line as well. This is the Sri Sampradaya, but in our Gaudiya lineage, when Rup and Sanatan, as Tadir Khas and Sakir Malik, when they were under the king, the sultan's leadership, Rup and Sanatan's father would do austerities and would offer obligations and would pray to the Supreme Lord that my sons get free from their pitiable condition, and they are able to they are able to get rid of this position that the king has given them, and they are able to get into Krishna consciousness. This is the consciousness of the devotees. So, materially, our fathers, your father or my father, they would be very happy if we get the kingdom. But this is the difference between the vision of a devotee and a non-devotee. When Prabhupada, for the first time, he came to the West, and he took a step at the dock in New York. He looked at the ambience around him, and he said, "Dark, very dark." And someone might say that, in those times, it was the dream of the Indians to come to the West. London, where the British rule, where the sun never sets. So that is like the ultimate desire of all was at that time at least, of coming to the West and making a life, making a career for oneself. And whilst Prabhupada saying, looking at this ambience, he's saying dark, very dark, because he's not seeing the material, he's not seeing the sky rising buildings, he's not seeing the wide roads. He's seeing the spiritual mindset of the people, which is the IQ is negative. It is not, the spiritual acumen is not there. So he said, so that is the difference between the vision of pure devotee, a devotee, and a non-devotee. And he sees the sky-rise buildings. He sees a car. He sees a Lamborghini. He sees a Merc. That is the ultimate goal of his life. So Ram Mishra, now knowing that he's a commoner, the king would not give his audience to him so easily. So what he did was that he was smart. So he went to the forest and got a specific type of spinach, which is very not just healthy, it is also very sattvic, supposed to highlighten the good qualities in a person. So the king, he gets the spinach, and he goes to the cook of the king, and he gives the cook the spinach and says that, I'm so much indebted, so much grateful to this king who's such a noble, such an eloquent king, and what I should do is that he should be fed this spinach, because it'll prolong his life, it'll prolong his health. And he would give this spinach, and he wouldn't charge anything. So every day he would go, and he would, through the window, he would give the spinach to the cook, and the cook would make the spinach for the king. And the king really liked the spinach and got addicted to it. So every day when he would take his meals, he would expect the spinach. But then suddenly the spinach delicacy, the spinach sabzi, came no more. And then the king asked the cook that why are you not preparing that sabzi anymore? And I really used to like it. So the cook said that there was a person who wouldn't charge anything for it and would every day come for free, get the spinach for you. But he didn't, has stopped coming. So the king said, "Oh, he wouldn't charge anything." So yeah, he wouldn't charge anything. He would say that he's so grateful. He is so happy with this king that he wants to serve him very nicely. He wants you to have a long life. So he says, okay, next time when he comes, you get him to me. I want to meet this person. So after a few days, Ram Mishra again comes with the spinach, and at that time the cook says that, oh, the king wants to see you. So he goes to the king. He wants to meet. Finally gets the audience of the king, and then he starts glorifying the king, and then he tells the king, "Oh Yamuna, I am the disciple of your great mighty grandfather, great saint Nath Muni, and I'm here with a mission. Nath Muni told me that there's a great amount of wealth he has saved, which I can take you to, and which is rightfully yours to claim." So Yamuna thought that I anyway want to expand my kingdom. I need financial stability. I need wealth. So this is a very great opportunity. I'll come with him. So Ram Mishra said that I'll take you through that place. This great wealth is kept so safely that it is deep into the forest, guarded by two rivers, surrounded by five-hooded snakes, and every 5 years a yaksha comes to safeguard this treasure, to know if everything is to check on this treasure. This is very safely kept by by your grandfather. So you should come with me. I'll take you to this treasure, and you can have it. So Yamuna said, okay, this will be an interesting journey. So both of them depart in the forest. And now what Ram Mishra does is all along his way, he recites beautiful pastimes of Krishna. He he recites um, the glorious verses from Bhagavad Gita, from Srimad Bhagavatam, from other Puranas and scriptures. And he gets him attracted, gets Yamuna hooked back into Krishna consciousness to such an extent that Yamuna says that I have wasted my life. I was born in such a pious family. I have. What am I really doing with my life? I was supposed to become a devotee of the Lord, and I'm the king of this Kanchi of this kingdom. I just want to renounce everything and surrender to Lord Hari now. Ram Mishra told him that, now that we are here halfway through, might as well come and see what the treasure is. So he says, no, I don't want to see the treasure. I don't want anything. I don't want to even go back to my kingdom. I just want to renounce everything and stay here. And Ram Mishra tells him that you won't, you'll really like it. Come with me. So Ram Mishra takes him deep into the forest, guarded by two rivers, sheltered by five-hooded snakes. And every 5 years, a yaksha comes to check on the treasure and takes him through the journey. And the journey finishes at the great temple of Lord Ranganath. Lord Ranganath's temple is guarded by two rivers, Kaveri and Koilam river. There are two rivers which guard the temple of, surround the river, the temple of Lord Ranganath. Guarded, sheltered by the five-hooded snakes. Lord Ranganath is sleeping on Anantashesh, five-hooded Anantashesh. And every 5 years, it is said Vibhishan comes to take the darshan of Lord Ranganath. Because this deity of Lord Ranganath was actually given to Vibhishan by Lord Ram in Treta Yuga to carry to Lanka. But the deity, so it was that if Vibhishan keeps the deity anywhere on the ground, then that's where the deity will get installed. So he kept the deity over here, and the deity wouldn't fly. The deity did not want to, Lord Ranganath did not want to cross the ocean and go to Lanka. But then This is the only temple of Lord Ranganath which is facing the southern direction. So Lord Ranganath is facing, his face is towards Lanka. So this beautiful deity of Lord Ranganath. So when Yamuna sees this deity of Lord Ranganath, he becomes a devotee. And he gives up all his desire to rule the kingdom, to have a great palace, or to rule. And then this great Yamuna, in his further journey, becomes the mighty, the most um, prominent Acharya of the Sri Sampradaya, Yamunacharya. Later he actually becomes the great grand guru of um, Sripad Ramanujacharya. So, why am I narrating this story in today's class is because who came to change the life, who came to bring that change in Yamuna's life? Who brought this change? Ram Mishra. And who is Ram Mishra? Ram Mishra is a disciple of Nath Muni. Ram Mishra is the devotee, right? Or devotee of the Supreme Lord. So, yes, that verse, Tirtha Kurvanti Tirthani. So, in this pastime, we see Ram Mishra came and he changed the life of Yamuna and made him the great Yamunacharya. So, similarly, today's verse, we see the great Maitreya continued. The citizens pray to the most powerful King Pṛthu, and the four Kumāras, who were as bright as the sun, arrive on the spot. Seeing the glowing effulgence of the four Kumāras, the masters of all great mystic power, the king and his associates could recognize them as they descend from the sky. So, what now in the future verses would be is that four Kumāras will Divya Gyanhridaya Prakashita will tell the king about the glories of the Supreme Lord, will tell him about the beautiful form, beautiful aspect, Leela, Gun, Adi of the Supreme Lord. And now the king will be benefited by their association. Just like how Yamuna was benefited by the association of Ram Mishra and became the great Acharya, Yamunacharya. Prabhupada oftentimes, even in his Bhagavad Gita purports, he quotes Yamunacharya a lot of times. And that very famous verse, I haven't memorized it, but the translation is that I was so attached to the material desires, especially the sexual desires presented by the material creation. But when I heard the supreme glories and the beautiful names of the Supreme Lord, my lips curl and my in disgust, and I close my eyes, look to the same materialistic pleasures when I engage my mind in the glories of Harinam, of Hare Krishna Kirtan. So, this great Yamunacharya, this is the story of great Yamunacharya. And now, why I did not highlight on the purports, Prabhupada presenting that how there were celestial kingdoms and there were celestial, the mystic yogis, because before the last class and the last class, we were talking about the verse Anyabhilashitashrunya, right? Jnana karmadhi navritam. So devotee is not attached to any glories or any mystical powers or aghima, lagima or all these siddhis, because that would come into karma or adi, jnana karmadi anavritam. That is the lakshana of that verse. So that would be me contradicting my own statements if I would actually highlight on those aspects. So that is why I thought that this story is best suiting today's class. So for those who missed, they can look it up, the story of Yamunacharya. It's very, very nice. It's almost time. We'll end here. Any questions, comments, feedback, suggestions? there are, there are, so the first verse of Bhakti Rasamrit Murti, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Akhila Rasamrita Murti, what is it? You know the verse? Akhila Rasamrita Murti, uh, I'll look it up. I just memorized it. अखिल रसामृत मूर्ति परस्मर रुचि रूढ़ तारक पाली कलित श्याम ललितो radha preyan vidurjayati. So the first verse Krishna describes Akhila Rasamrita Murti, right? So he's the enjoyer of different rasas. So yes, Vaishnavas are Tirtha Kurvanti Tirthani, but even in Vaishnavas there are two types of Vaishnavas, Bhajananandis and Goshtanandis. Bhajananandis have the mood of intense bhajan, intense devotion and dedication towards the glories of Krishna, whereas Goshtanandis do not just immerse themselves into their own bhajan, but also do preaching activities and facilitate preaching programs. So because Krishna is Rasraj or Akhila Rasamrit Murti, he wants to have all types of rasas, experience all types of rasas. In fact, he's the originator of all types of rasas. So are his devotees. So there are some devotees who want to preach to the sinful, like Narad Muni, Mrigari, like Srila Prabhupada went to the West. So someone asked Prabhupada, are you the only pure devotee in the planet? So Prabhupada said, no, but I'm the only pure devotee who's preaching. So Prabhupada said that there are a lot of pure devotees, a lot of other god brothers of Prabhupada. They were also pure devotees, a lot other disciples of Bhakti Siddhanta, but they did not, focus more on preaching. But Prabhupada, he was a Goshtanandi and he was a perfect Bhajananandi. He preached through his character and he preached in the West. So we see that for Kumāras, they have the mood, they want to preach to a specific type of people. So they don't go to places where there is sin. Narad Muni goes to places where there is Mrigari, where there, even he goes to, in Krishna Lila, he goes to Kansa also. He goes to Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksh. So he's a time traveler, he can go. So there are different rasas. Now, Ed Prabhu is good at Western preaching. If I was to speak in front of Westerners, I'll be starstruck, or I won't be able to speak anything. Oh, Prabhuji speaks. Prabhu, which language you speak? Telugu. So Prabhu speaks in Telugu. If I was to give a class in Telugu, I wouldn't be able to do. So Akhila Rasamrita Murti, Radha Preyan Vidurjayati. Does that answer your question? So the planet of Siddhaloka is actually, I think, Prabhu. So you cannot say that it is one of the heavenly planets because the nature of Siddhaloka is not sense enjoyment. The main, so what the lower planetary systems are to give you suffering, patal, hellish planets basically. Heavenly planets, not patal. Patal is where the demons or the impious reside, where the daityas reside. But hellish conditions, hellish planetary systems are where you're meant to give suffering. You go for your karmic reactions of sinful reactions. In heavenly planets, you are going to enjoy the good karmas you've done. But the nature of Siddhalok or Satyalok and these great heavenly planetary systems, as in higher planetary systems, the nature is more towards not exactly Shuddh Bhakti, but it is more towards jnana, towards austerities. So all the siddhas and the great saints and celestials, they reside here, and they can go to other planetary systems because they continuously go to Satyalok to have Lord Brahma's association and have uh, philosophical conversations and discussions. So in Brihad Bhagavatamrit, when Kumar goes through these planetary systems to Golok, so the nature of all these, the rasa of all these planetary systems is different. The planetary system of Satyalok, um, Siddhalok, is different than the heavenly planets. But yes, they can access, um, if a saint from Siddhalok, we never know, I don't know, maybe you are one of the saints of the Siddhalok sitting here, so they can. No, no, even Lord Brahma cannot access the spiritual world. When we talk about the spiritual world, we're talking about Vaikuntha, right? We are talking about Vaikuntha, we're talking about Golok and Saket. No, they can't, because I think the adhikar is not more than Satyalok, because even Brahma cannot access Vaikuntha. Even they, when the demigods and Brahma in Ramayana and Bhagavatam, there's mentioned, right, that how they go and then they sing the Purusha Sukta prayers, and then they call out the Supreme Lord. So even they do not have access to the spiritual world, as in to the abode of the Lord. But in the material manifestation, Chauda Bhuvan, they can go anywhere they want. To go to the spiritual world, one has to perform Shuddha Bhakti. Anya Bilashita Shunya, Jnana Karmadhyana Avritam, Anukulana Krishnanushelanam Bhaktiruttama. That too, preferably in one of the four sampradayas. We discussed about Sri Sampradaya today. So, under the tutelage of Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Vishnu Swami, Nimbarkacharya. Yeah, so they have to do Shuddh Bhakti, and through Shuddh Bhakti, so when they come to the level of Bhav, that is where the sadhak leaves his body, gets a spiritual body, experiences prem, and then whatever his sthai bhav was towards the Supreme Lord, let's say a person's sthai bhav was dasarati to Lord Ram for that matter. King Kulashekar, like sometimes you can, if given an opportunity, Kulashekar had deep devotion towards Lord Ram. He had dasarati towards Lord Ram. Hanuman had dasarati. So they go, so their sthai bhav is dasarati. Sthai bhav is one of the 5 rasas which are also mentioned in first few pages of Bhagavad Gita, where Prabhupada talks about Shanta, Dasa, Sakya, Vatsalya and Mathurya. It's also mentioned in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So according to one's sthai bhav, when they get onto the level of prem, they go to the destination they have desires for. If someone has Madhuri Rati towards Krishna, then they go to the spiritual world, Goloka, and whatever the bhavs they have. Does that answer? So, according to their moods, they go to the spiritual world. It was very auspicious to discuss this story today, because today is officially the first day of Chaturmas also. So now these 4 months of Chaturmas in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's travel, in South Indian travel, he spent in Sri Rangam, because it is said that one sannyasi, traditionally a sannyasi wouldn't spend more than a day at a grahastha's place, because he's supposed to stay from one milking day. So the time frame between the time a grahastha milks his cow on one day till the grahastha milks the cow again, the sannyasi is allowed to live for that duration. But for Chaturmas, because it's the monsoon season in India, it is difficult to travel. The Chaturmas period, a sannyasi rests in one particular place, preferably Dham, and does his bhajan. So Mahaprabhu, in his South Indian yatra, he chose to stay at the house of Venkata Bhatt, was it? Venkat Bhatt, whose son, nephew. So Venkat Bhatt's brother's son was Gopal Bhatta, and he got a lot of association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when he saw Mahaprabhu in his sannyasi vesh, and he heard about Mahaprabhu's pastimes with his as Navdvip Chandra, he would cry in seclusion, and he would wail, and he would think that I wish I could see the beautiful Navdvip Chandra form of Mahaprabhu. And then one day Mahaprabhu was sitting, and suddenly he sees Mahaprabhu, who's now a sannyasi, as Nimai Pandit. And then he sees Nimai Pandit as Krishna. And then Gopal Bhatta Goswami, looks at the form of the Lord and he faints. And that's how Mahaprabhu makes Gopal Bhatta Goswami attracted to him. And later on, then he travels to Vrindavan and becomes one of the 6 Goswamis. It is also worth noting that Mahaprabhu has very interesting conversations with Venkat Bhatt, and Venkat Bhatt's brother's name was? I think it was Valla, but I might be wrong. So they had discussions about different ratis. So they had Dasarati towards Vishnu. So Mahaprabhu asked him if Vishnu is the supreme Lord, and if he's so enchanting, then why did Lakshmi leave Vishnu's association? All of these interesting conversations one can read in CC. Prabhu, now this becomes a specific question one has to ask their Shiksha Gurus or Diksha Gurus what to do and how to do. But general guidelines is, my understanding is one has to serve the Supreme Lord according to Desh, Kal and Patra. So, yes, during April it is Chandan Yatra, but over here it is winters, right? So we do not offer Chandan to Radha Gopinath. But traditionally, that is what is done in India. Similarly, in Chaturmas, it's monsoon, but over here it's winters. So I think vratas should be continued because they do not really depend on the monsoon season, right? One can refrain from, the first month is spinach, I guess, from green leafy vegetables, and the second month is yogurt, and then third is milk, and then fourth is urad dal and other few vegetables. So that does not really, I might be wrong, but check. But that does not really depend on Chaturmas, as the climate or the weather. So one should observe that. As far as deity worship, if there are some specifications, like I think it is said that during deity worship, one should offer kadamba oil to the deities because it is very cooling. According to every specific season, there are some oils one should offer the Lord. So in summers, one offers khas, rose, because they are very cooling in nature. And in winters, one should offer kesar or things which are more hot and winters we've stopped using peacock feathers. So in serving the Lord, we should do what is practical. But as far as these vratas, if they do not really depend on the masa and the climate, then we should observe them. Also, according to one's own nature, some people I know who are inclined towards doing austerities. Some people who not very inclined towards doing austerities. So depending on a person's nature also, and how one wants to serve Krishna, what their rati is towards Krishna. Should we end? Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Samved Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Jai Prabhu ki jai.